Hello everybody and welcome to a very exciting time. It's not very often that I get the opportunity to play an N64 game live for the very first time, where I've not actually had the opportunity to be able to do that before. So this is something that I've been really looking forward to doing. As you can see from the title, this is for the Diehard Unreleased prototype, which was found a little bit earlier on this year. So basically what I'm going to be doing is giving you a little bit of a backstory about the actual game itself, and then what we'll be able to do is just to go through to play some of the game. I'm going to be playing the dumps in order, so that's going to be dumps 1, 2 and 3, and we'll basically be taking it from there to actually see what the live prototypes contain. So thank you for everybody who's joining in with the stream. Again, I'll be reading the comments as we go. One of the sort of good things about this particular stream, to be honest, is the fact that it's very, very straightforward, in a sense that I will be able to read everybody's comments, because from what I know about these, again, I've not actually played them yet, but from what I know about them, they can be quite limited, especially the first one, I think, is very limited in terms of what is actually available to watch. So again, I think they might be a little bit scarce, so you might have to stick with me until we get maybe to the later prototypes. But this one is going to be a pretty exciting live episode of the N64 beta project. So there's people joining in with the chat now. So just to give you a little bit of a background. So earlier on this year, in fact, what I'll do is I'll read you a little bit about the game before we start playing. This is from an article that Retro Collect wrote about this. So basically, I'll read the article. So it says, yippee-ki-yay even. It looks like yet another cancelled N64 game has been discovered. This time it's the mythical Diehard 64 from Bit Studios. Originally planned for a 1999 release by Fox Interactive, Diehard 64 was never actually shown to the press or the public, and the only hints that it ever existed until now were some mentions in magazine articles of the era. It appears that the same Assembler Games forum member who recently revealed the similarly cancelled N64 prototype game Rika has also in his possession a very early yet playable version of Diehard 64. A first-person shooter that, for all intents and purposes, the blueprint went on to become Diehard Vendetta. Retro Collect reached out to forum member 10AHU, who incidentally worked for Bit Studios in the late 1990s, for further details about Diehard 64, and here's what he told us about his incredible story. Losing my voice a little bit. The game is far from complete, and it's split into 3 different ROMs, and each ROM has about 8 levels, and around 3 of them are playable in each ROM. The rest of them are test levels or unfinished levels with no enemies at all. The levels playable include the prison riot, hospital, LA Street, the police department. The maps are quite big and fairly impressive for the Nintendo 64. For instance, in the LA Street level, you can have a few streets and you can go inside and outside of some buildings, but you don't have any pedestrians or cars running around in the street. The environments feel empty, but it is a very early game. All cutscenes are missing, and besides the yippee-ki-yay and that must hurt voiced by Bruce Willis, there is no dialogue in the game at all. Even the most completed level, you have lots of funny glitches, and it really is a work in progress, which you can tell when looking or playing the game. Besides that, you still have a lot in here. You have a few melee weapons, a knife, a baseball bat, a police truck, a police stick even, a taser and your fists. And firearms in the game include a handgun, Uzi, M16, a type of automatic shotgun, and a few other generic machine guns. Now what's really cool about this is that you can dual wield weapons, and in terms of gameplay you can climb ladders, push buttons, jump, crouch, crawl underground, and you can also lean around corners. You also have some kind of unfinished bullet time effect when the camera rotating around the bullet, very similar to Max Payne. The field of view is quite narrow, but I guess that's standard for an N64 shooter, and the controls seem to be quite complicated to get used to. I guess I lost my skill with modern shooters with auto-aiming, but it was really hard to shoot the enemies. As mentioned earlier, Diehard 64 appears to have been cancelled due to its projected release date being very late in the life cycle of the Nintendo 64, so work was halted on this game and it moved on to the GameCube. Die Hard Vendetta did not really get stellar reviews upon its release, but it's very interesting to see the origins of that game in the true Nintendo 64 Blur-O-Vision. The person who's dumped and released these files went on to explain how Bit Studio's team was split into two, and they worked on two other well-known titles. So when the N64 generation ended, the Rika team was split into two teams. One half joined the Thieves World, which was another cancelled N64 game, and they went on to produce Rogue Ops. The other half of the team joined the Die Hard 64 team, and that eventually became the Die Hard Vendetta team. So, according to the chap who's released these files, the Die Hard 64 ROMs will not work using an emulator like Project 64, and instead it's running on an EverDrive, which is what I'm going to be using to play the games for you live today, and it needs true, genuine N64 hardware in order to be able to play these games. So that was the backstory. Now, that was a little bit earlier on in this year, and for many of us, we just assumed that this guy who had these files, he was actually going to be keeping hold of these files and not actually releasing them for the general public, which is quite common because if staff members have these, then they can sort of go back and get in a little bit of trouble sometimes. However, to my surprise, I got an email when I was at work about 2 days ago from somebody who highlighted to me. Let me just have a quick look here. So this was an email from Brandon. So Brandon's a viewer of the show, and he said, "Hello, here is the download link to the 3 builds of Die Hard 64. Hope you make a video on these. Thanks for awesome videos." So I obviously checked with Brandon. I said, look, because I hadn't heard about these files actually being made public. So I went back to him to say, look, you know, I don't want to get in any trouble. I don't want to get anybody else in trouble if I start showing off Die Hard 64. So he came back to me saying, I just want to clarify, he hasn't dumped these ROMs. They were released directly by the chap who actually has the builds of the games. And obviously he's releasing it just so it can get some more recognition. So without much further ado, hopefully you can all hear me okay on the chat, which I'm hoping is all coming through quite clear. Before I start playing, I'm just going to do a quick shout out for those that have tuned in. So we've got hellos from New Zealand, we've got greetings from Florida, we've got Scotty Barger says, as an N64 collector, I've never heard of this game, but thanks for sharing this. People are talking about their ages in the chats. There's a real good diverse group. Of course, always people from Brazil, so obrigado to everybody tuning in from the other side of the world. And without further ado, we're going to start with the first dump. So this is Die Hard 64. This is the first build. So let's get on with this. And as I said, for those of you just tuning in, this is the first time that I've actually played these files as well. So looking at this, it doesn't appear like there's any sound as of yet, so we're not entirely too sure what this screen is, but it looks like it's a very basic screen select. In terms of, it looks very, very basic. It's just selecting different levels. So we'll go through these in order. So we'll start off with Warehouse, Crate, Assault. A little bit of a loading screen. The graphics don't look too bad. We've got a progress screen, so this looks like it's just loading up a build on this one. So this says Crate Assault cutscene, and by the looks of it, this is where I assume a cutscene would have been in place. And it looks like there's not all that much happening. Okay, so we're actually into a level now. It looks pretty smooth. The controls at the moment look very similar to GoldenEye, so I'm running this on a standard N64 black official controller. Oh, we have got some background music. Doesn't sound too bad at all, actually. But yeah, so we've got the analog stick is looking for movement and direction. The C buttons are strafing left and right. The up C button is jumping, and the down C button is crouching. The right the right shoulder button appears to be a look button. So if I'm holding right now, it gives me the opportunity to look around and I'd assume aim a weapon once I get one. Tapping Z brings up the weapons. So you can see there's some very rough looking animation. But at the moment, pressing the B button, I assume is going to be changing weapons when I eventually pick some more up. But again, this is going to be quite an interesting one because, as I mentioned, I haven't actually played these just yet, so I'm not sure where I need to go. That looks like it's another dead end, and if we have a look up here, okay, that looks like it's some sort of grate covering the... Okay, so that looks like there's no way to get up there. But it does look like there is some type of room up there, so I'm not sure if I can get up there just yet. But for now, I'm guessing there must be another area to go. So Nikolas Cortez, yep, this was a first person. Again, there doesn't appear to be any weapon that or anything I can get through here. So if I press the L button, it looks like it's just bringing up some of the game code. I'm not sure why the police badge has just popped up on the screen, but it looks like I haven't got any way of getting through here just yet. So maybe there is another way to get around. Remember as well, these are very, very early builds of the game, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. There may be many levels in here where there is absolutely nothing to do, so this is just where I came down. So I think this may be all that is built so far of this level. It doesn't appear that I can actually go anywhere. Looks like a very basic tunnel system, and it doesn't appear that there's any way to open any of this gate here. Even punching it or trying different buttons doesn't seem to be working, and I can't get up through that area just there. So I assume that is all that there is to see in this level. So pausing the game, we've got a restart menu, new game, load game, save game, credits. Let's have a quick look at the credits. So we've got a list there of the programmers, designers, and again you've got some names at the bottom of the screen so you can see who some of the very early team members were. An option screen, okay, so we've got God mode, AI off, so maybe if we turn AI on, I think we're going to need that on. Draw doors windows on, Diehard bug mapping on. We've also got smoke flares, hot volumes, debris. So it looks like this game was going to have quite a lot of effects in it. Dynamic lighting, dynamic textures, sky, conveyor belts, movable objects, auto targeting. Now going back to the article that I just looked at, they said that aiming was quite difficult with how buggy the game is. So I'm going to go ahead and turn auto targeting on, really just to help, because I think when there are levels where there are going to be some enemies, I think that is going to really come in useful. If I go to the mission status screen, it says mission status, the mission is going well, killed some bad guys, killed some good guys too. So I assume that wasn't going to be in the final version of the game. So we'll go to new game, we'll try the next level, which is warehouse photo shoot. So we get again a little loading screen. So whilst that loads, I'll just have a quick go through the chat. Thanos asks, does this support the expansion pack? There is no evidence that it does. So there's nothing there indicating that it does. David Walters says, does the D-pad do anything? If I press up on the D-pad, it brings up the police badge. If I press left, I think it's going to cycle through weapons or items. So I assume the D-pad was going to be for items and yeah, shifting through. So again, we're on the second level now, and hopefully we might actually get some action. So again, we've got another one of these, and hopefully this will actually let me go out the top. Yeah, okay. So having a look around, this appears to be a type of warehouse. So I'm going to be a little bit careful with ammo. It doesn't appear that the crates, they can move around, you can move the crates around, but it doesn't appear that they can be exploded or blown up. A button is reload weapon, and the B button I assume is going to be used to open doors, but there's no doors that I've had the opportunity to open just yet. Now, I'm not sure why, but automatically my weapon just got put away then. So perhaps there was a reason, or there was a plan. Okay, so the A button, yeah, the A button opens doors. So let's have a look outside. So you can see actually It's very rough around the edges. The environment's a little bit scarce. Okay, there's a broken window, and I was able to smash that. Okay, so I'm hoping I may be able to jump through there, or at least maybe climb. Yeah. There's some nice particle effects there. Again, they're a little bit rough, but if you look at those, I mean, even for an early build of the game. Good question. So, Roygo Rodriguez says, if you turn doors, windows off, can you pass some areas? So why don't we go ahead and give that a try. So we go to options, doors, windows off. We'll have to see if that's going to let me. No, so it appears that that doesn't seem, maybe it's different for different levels, but it would appear that doesn't do anything in this particular level, or maybe in this build of the game. So this would, I imagine, looks like some type of office complex. Let's try going down here. Oh, this was just the room where we were a moment ago. Okay. Now this looks okay. So there's another flight of stairs. Whoa, there we go. So we were talking about budges and glitches. A few questions. Thanos asks, is the frame rate consistent so far? Yeah, it seems pretty good. I mean, there's not a whole lot actually going on. But going back to the article who said this was very buggy build, you can see here, if I go to exit this door, which would take me outside, you get in a very... basically, it's just repeating itself. So it looks like this could be all from this level. I'm just going to go outside just to see if there is anything else outside in this particular level. In terms of holding weapons in different hands, that could be a possibility. So let me just get outside, bring up a weapon. But for some reason, I can't seem to go back to select the machine gun that I had a short while ago. So, okay, so if I hold... Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a way for me to be able to bring back the machine gun I had a moment ago. So maybe that'll come back in a later level. Again, I can't actually get past this area, so I assume that would be either a later level or a part that hasn't been built yet. It looks quite nice though. Again, still quite bare, but the levels themselves look like they would have been quite big. So definitely looked interesting. Let me see if there's any way to get up there on the roof at this stage. Okay, maybe this door. Okay, it looks like there's a machine gun there, but you can see anytime I sort of slightly move, I can't actually get through this door. Oh, I can. Okay, that was really strange. So let me just show you that again. So if I go out of this door, you can see it looks there like nothing is in place, but if I stand here and press the A button, it then takes me straight through. So it looks like we've got M16 laser sight, but again, it's an empty room, so I think that is all that is going to be visible. Now, we were talking before about being able to dual wield the weapons, so I'm not sure if I can change hands. This gun feels quite nice though. The fire rate's not all that great, but I assume that's just going to be the type of weapon it was. And you've got a nice zoom in. So, as I said, in fact, if I go here, yeah, see, so whereas when I was in the previous area, it would let me go through. It's not actually letting me through, but if I press the B button now, because I've got multiple weapons, it lets me select between whether I want to use the gun, which has no logo, or the fists. So that looks like that's all to see on this level. So let's go ahead and select the next level. So now we're moving into the hospital. There's three parts. There's hospital start, which is where we're going to begin. So actually George brings up a good point. So before, let me just go back to the warehouse. So George Yamin says that's because you turned off the doors and it was to open the door. So I'm just going to go back here just to see if that is actually the case. So if we go back into the options, turn doors and windows back on. Let's just see if that has any impact, because it'd be quite cool. Ah, okay, good point. Yeah, real good point. So it's good that we've got George as a bit of a beta specialist right here. However, it would still appear it's not going to let me through. So let me see if I can mess around with the options, because there could be. See if there's anything else there that could help me to get through. Movable objects or targeting. Yeah, so it appears that could be it. So yeah, nothing I think that's going to let me actually get through there. But either way, it was still pretty cool. We'll go back to the first hospital level. Let's see what we can do on this one. OMH20 says, I didn't know there was a cancelled Diehard game on the console. Yeah, so this was the game that eventually went on to become Diehard Vendetta on the GameCube. So again, at the hospital here. Okay, this one looks like a timed level. So we've got a 3-minute timer. And it looks like we're maybe in an underground sort of parking lot. That looks like it was a button that could be activated, so perhaps there is something in there, but the activation button doesn't seem to be working, so maybe it needs to be switched on somewhere else. A little bit of a dip in the frame rate there as more objects came onto the screen, but they're not terribly bad looking. The ambulances for an N64 vehicle. Quite stiff and square, but okay, so we've got exits. Let me see if we've got any additional items. Oh, okay. So the badge appears to allow you to open certain doors, which is a little bit strange. Okay, it looks like we're bugging out a little bit. And those automatic doors were a little bit stiff as well. So a lot of these doors don't seem to be willing to let me through them. And again, that glass doesn't appear to be breakable. So we may be a little bit limited as to where we can actually go in this particular level. Let me just try this one again. Yeah, it doesn't want to let me in there. So let me go back and see if the badge will work on a different area. But overall though, it seems like it would have been quite a cool game. It looks like the levels would have been quite large, which, okay, so I've got the doctor's uniform now. So let me see if I can put on the doctor's uniform. Okay. See, about 20 seconds left before the timer runs out. I'm not sure what the doctor's uniform would have been used for. Maybe there's some sort of Mission Impossible style disguise system in place. Let me just go back to... Okay, now this says I've got the doctor's uniform on, so using the items is a little bit buggy. Let me just see if this would actually let me go. Okay, so the level hasn't ended when I ran out of time, and I'm now wearing the doctor's uniform, but it appears that I've gone through all of the possible doors that were available. So I'm just going to have one final check. Okay, so this one's actually now letting me through. I have the doctor's uniform on. And we're into the hospital. Okay. So you got the theatres. Let's have a look at these posters. So bad teeth, bad breath, bad skin, bad idea. So an anti-smoking poster there in the middle of Die Hard. Let's see what this one says. I can't quite read this one. It says, love your heart or love something another. Can anyone read that? And the other one says something about for free advice, and it's got a cell phone number. So let's continue through the level. So it looks like this uniform is letting me go through to the theatre, or is it? Maybe not. This could be a dead end. Yeah, so this looks like for this particular level, this is a dead end unless any of the doors are now going to let me through. Health for 2000. Picture of a baby. Another waiting room poster just there. Nikolas Cortez. The Saturn did also get Die Hard. It did. Die Hard Arcade, which is correct. I always personally preferred Die Hard Trilogy myself. Always enjoyed that game. Okay, let's see who these doctors are. So they look like probably stock photo holders, to be honest. They look very generic. It would have been funny to have seen some details from the developer, maybe if they put their own photo in. That would have been pretty cool. A couple of wheelchairs. There are some items around. Mount Giles on the computer screen. And I think that is the final dead end for this particular level. So looks interesting. That looks like a bullet. Let me try and frame it for you guys on screen. It looks like a bullet shot to somebody's rib cage or chest. So pretty interesting, but let's go to the next part of the level. So if we go to new game, hospital middle, this should take us on to the next section. Mike Beck says, the poster says, love your heart or lose your liver. Okay, now this looks pretty interesting. So we've got an operating theatre. So I assume the previous level that we were just on would have eventually got to maybe a checkpoint, or this operating theatre that you can see here probably would have been maybe a midpoint in the level. Because it looks like there's a gallery here as well. So maybe this is like a medical operating theatre for maybe trainee surgeons. Because there is a waiting or a viewing gallery. I'm not sure why you'd want people watching if you're having surgery, but pretty strange. But let's see where we can go anyway. So that's there is a vent there. Now, obviously, of course, Die Hard is known for action taking place in the vents, but to me, that looks like it's a texture rather, or is it? It doesn't look like there's any way to actually get there. So maybe that's how you enter. So maybe on the previous level, that actually does look like it's something that could have linked to this level. Maybe you crawled through a tunnel to actually get into here. So Esran, apologies if I've butchered your name. Esran says, when did Die Hard take place in a hospital? Now, okay, so this particular game, I don't believe it was following any of these sort of stories. I've now got a bit of a glitch because it's not letting me go through or move. And we're getting big frame rate drops here, so there's something here that it doesn't like. So let me just load up this level again, because I do think that could just be a partial glitch. So we'll go back to the start and see if we can get straight through the door. But yeah, I think this was going to have its own new story. I don't think it was actually going to be a sort of following the film. Okay, so it says I have the poison, and as soon as it says that, oh, actually, see, this is what I mean. It's really buggy. So I managed to sort of squeeze through there, but it is now sticking almost at every turn. However, let's see how far we can get. So it looks like there's a hospital waiting room. Is that a safe? Perhaps. Let me see if I can open. No, so that looks like it's maybe a bedside table, but there's nothing in there for me to open or check out. We keep getting sticking, so we keep getting stuck on objects. So this is looking pretty buggy now. I'm not sure how far this is actually going to let me go. Yeah, this is just completely stopping me from going any further. I'm just trying, yeah. There's no way to get through there that I can see. So let's try the other route. Again, a dead end. No sort of cool notices just there. Thanos says this is a memory leak, potentially. Who knows? Okay, nice blood bag. So someone was having a diffusion. So maybe that links in with the X-ray we saw where somebody had been shot in the chest. So maybe that was going to be part of the storyline. Maybe there's the same poster again. Maybe this was going to be sort of linked to somebody being shot. Maybe a protect mission. I don't know. But it is still interesting. And another bag as well. So maybe there are multiple casualties. But why would John McClane be at the hospital? So let's go to the outpatients. Let me see if the badge will let me get through this door. So it says I have the poison, so yeah, it looks like this could now be a dead end. So Ted Belcher, YOLO. Michael Leroy, very cool name there, big Shadow Man fan, says, hey buddy, long time fan, never caught you doing a live show before. I do them from time to time. I did the whole playthrough of Diddy Kong Racing. I've done many other live streams. Some of them I sort of archive, others I do make available. This one I probably will make available. Zealous says, is this for real an N64 game? So yeah, this is being played on the EverDrive 64. The files do not work on emulators. So I'm guessing you've just tuned in because I did explain right at the start of the video. So for anyone who's now tuning in, yeah, this is the Diehard #1. We're just going through the first file, just trying to see what we can find about the game. And it is still my first time playing it. So if I run into dead ends, this is all live. We're just trying to see how much of the levels we can see, and that appears to be a dead end. So if we go to a new game, let's go to the hospital ending. Let's see what this shows up. Tom Lee C says, nice, hadn't seen this running previously. The guy who actually owns the files, he did upload a video of it. But either way, it's pretty cool. Okay, so I've now got a pass. So I've got pass 1. So hopefully this should let me reach additional areas. So we're now at the end part of the hospital level. So it looks like there's maybe some sort of fire. That looks like a very crude smoke effect right there. In the men's bathroom. Is it going to let me do a GoldenEye and shoot anybody? Possibly not. However, I have just noticed something. So, oh, actually, see, it did let me open that one. And that one. So maybe it's just being very, very selective. Maybe it's got a very small hitbox for where you need to actually press. But yeah, there's no character sat on toilets. However, maybe this was going to be a little bit of an Easter egg or a bit of fun. But if you look, there's a vent directly above one of those toilets. So that would be pretty cool. If there is almost like a GoldenEye where you could actually have somebody on the toilet. Maybe that's what that was going to be in there for. So Tom Lee C says, has he released Rika yet? Not that I'm aware of, but I think that's the one that everyone's going to be asking for as well. So who knows, we may actually get it relatively soon, considering we weren't really expecting it, but who knows. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, Rika hasn't been dumped just yet. But yeah, as somebody mentioned there, completely untextured couch right there. So this, well, see, this is interesting. So maybe there's some type of poison that has been released. Okay, new weapon. So the fire rate of this one seems to be quicker. See if I can shoot the glass. No. So the glass doesn't appear to be breakable, and the controls are a little bit weird because the items, you sort of cycle between left and right on them. So trying to select, yeah, I get what they mean now about how fiddly the controls are, because you've got a separate wheel for items and a separate wheel for items, but then even trying to select items is pretty weird. So if I select, or if I try and select the badge, see, it lets me select the badge, but it doesn't let me select the pass. So maybe the pass is a sort of automatic. So maybe if you go to an area where the pass was needed, it would automatically just use it without you having to keep selecting it, which is pretty cool. But you can see, yeah, so this is the end of the hospital level. We're now in the canteen by the looks of it. But yeah, there appears to be poison sort of being released through the air vents. So and again, some more untextured chairs right there. So yeah, this is the canteen by the looks of it. But there doesn't appear to be a way to get through that door. So a little bit strange. Maybe it will only let me select the key. No, so this key pass is strange. It doesn't appear to be actually valid or working. Strange. Super Speed says this doesn't look like any engine I've ever seen before. To be honest, I'm probably going to agree with you. I can't see or think of any N64 game that has the same engine as this. It seems a little bit different. It does feel, I know it's obviously an early version of Diehard Vendetta, but it does feel, it does have that sort of feel to it. But yeah, the N64 seems to be running it okay. Okay, here we go. If you just noticed that. Okay, so it looks like there's, let me see if I can zoom in on that. So we've got a nice little Simpsons Easter egg in the Diehard. So pretty cool. At least it's good to see the developers were having fun. Thanos says this is running on a custom microcode, so one would assume the engine is original. Yeah, that would kind of feel fit in with everything that I'm sort of finding in the game so far. But still pretty cool. Did we go into women's toilets before? No, we didn't. It wouldn't let us go through. So I think this is all that we can get to in the hospital levels, but still pretty cool. It looks like it would have been an interesting mission. Maybe there's been some explosion. It looks like, from what I can tell and what we've seen, we saw obviously pick up some poison, so maybe there was somebody that we needed to poison. We've also seen some toxic smoke coming through the air vents, so maybe there was some type of infection or explosion or terrorist attack. So it looks pretty cool. It looks like it would have been an interesting mission for sure. So the next level in this build is Kingpin's Pad. So I'm not sure who that character is. I assume he sounds like he's some type of drug lord or criminal mob leader. And it looks like we're in some type of weird dungeon room. So chains hanging from the ceiling. I've got a taser. Okay. And there's some crates here. So I've also got the knife. So let me switch to the knife, see if we can get that animation on the go. But it's not actually letting me select them. Oh, okay, so we've got the taser. Okay, so we've got the knife. A little bit of a Turok style animation just there. Ezran says, can you view the McLean model? Was Bruce's face used? I've not seen any way to access the model just yet. But I do believe Bruce Willis was going to do the voice acting for this, which was strange because he was always quite, I wouldn't say against being used in games, because obviously he did have his own game on the PlayStation. What was it? Apocalypse or Apocalypse? But nowhere near to the extent like Tom Cruise, where Tom Cruise was completely against appearing in any video games whatsoever. So we don't know whether this had his likeness. As you've just seen there, getting through this is getting very, very glitchy now. So even just trying to get through here, it's really struggling. So we've got an alarm there, and we've also got what appears to be a CCTV. So I've just managed to blow up something, so for the first time we've actually been able to do some damage in the game. And I've also stopped the alarm, so maybe this was going to be more like a stealth level or a stealth type escape. Gemma says, what missions have enemies in them? Saw a video of this and there were some. Yeah, so we're going through all of the builds. So from what I can see, it appears this build maybe was the first build where there's not really a whole lot in terms of enemies. It's mostly got levels. So we've reached a dead end in this particular level. We did manage to do some damage there, so that's pretty cool to actually finally be able to do some damage in the game. But we will get some action in some of the later ones. So Acceptable 76 says, is this a clipping issue? Yeah, if I keep sort of fiddling around with the strafe buttons and the directional pad, I can sometimes get through, but I think we've seen everything in this particular level that we're going to be able to. So let's try the final level, which is the police department. We'll see what's in this level. Yeah, Random Assault Podcast says it looked like there was a switch on the other side of the gate. So this is the police department, and again, very, very barren environment. This to me looks like an underground parking lot. So let's see if there's anything here, any cars, or how we get out of here. Yeah, so this has got to be a parking lot. So let's go down and see if there's anything on any of the other levels. I get a sneaky suspicion that this is going to be just a parking lot. I'm hoping there is a way to actually get into the police headquarters, but to me, yeah, so this is a parking lot. You can see the marks there on the floor. Let's see. Okay, so we've got some stairs. Let's see if we can get inside. Okay, so there's a dead end there. There's no way we're going to be able to get past that. Cody the Dragon Dude says, why was this canned? It looks like it could have fit in with the other shooters on the N64. From what I've read, and what I explained sort of at the start of the video when I read the article about it, because of the sort of stage of where the game was at, the studio realised that this would have been one of the last N64 games to be released. So like a lot of developers, they realised, hang on, let's just move development to the GameCube, where we've got more power, more to play with. So it looks like that was the reason why this one was canned. So again, a crude looking helicopter there. There is some animation on there, which is nice to see. It doesn't appear to be doing anything whatsoever though. This is quite a nice courtyard. It's nice to see some big wide open environments like this on the console. The only sort of thing where I can imagine is very similar to Turok. Okay, so here we go. This is the police department building. Let's see if we can go around here. Okay, so you can see already these levels did look pretty large. A good size to them anyway. Random Assault says the only problem he sees is the character feels about 2 feet tall. I'm not too against the size of the character. I think the angle's about right for me personally. You know, if you think about where the fists are. I think it'll probably come into context more when we get to some of the levels where there are other sort of enemies, or I don't know if there's any AI characters or friendlies, but I think it may come into light more once we sort of get to that stage. So I'll just check I can't break into any of these windows. So it would appear not. Let's go back down, just see if we can find anything else. Oh no, so that's where I came in. So I need to go back to... Okay, so it looks like, again, a gate. That's probably, yeah, that's going to block our progress. So... Okay, so we've got a pistol. Finally found a weapon. Now we need some enemies to kill. Yeah, this level does look pretty cool. I'm not sure if it's going to give me the ability to actually kill anybody. Okay, this looks like a driveway. Okay, this looks like another entrance to the police station. I assume it's not going to let me go out of bounds. Nope. And there's no way to lift up the barrier. The animation on this pistol looks a little stiff. Let me just go around the side first, just to see if there's anything there. Okay, this is pretty cool. So you can just see already how big the level is already. Looks like a really, really big level. It's got some CCTV screens. Let's try this door. See, the lighting effects there are not too bad. You know, you can see some nice disbursement coming off the light there. Okay, let's go downstairs first, just to see if we can find anything here. That I assume is going to be a door just to the outside. Okay, that door is locked. There's no way to get through there. Again, a flipped over table. And some bulletproof glass. But again, nice little CCTV. So I kind of get a feeling that this particular level would have been more of a stealth type level. I just kind of get that feeling from it. It looks like there's lots of CCTV cameras around, sort of areas where you could hide behind. Is that Donald Trump? What do you reckon, guys? It looks... I can't tell what type of painting that's supposed to be, but to me, that looks like the American flag, kind of on the right-hand side, with Donald Trump in a picture. Really? Wow, this game was way ahead of its time. Cody's asking, does this prototype take advantage of the expansion pack? It doesn't appear to at this stage. I would assume it probably would have had expansion pack support. Okay, let's have a look. So we've got a name here for a character. So that looks like Samuel Greer. So whoever this maybe was going to be the police chief. It looks like quite a plush office, nice chairs. So Samuel Greer. Who was Samuel Greer going to be in this game? I'm trying to actually think if there was a character called Sam Greer in the movies. It doesn't ring a bell to me. Somebody asked me in the chat which my favourite Diehard movie was. I'd probably say Diehard 1, then 3, then 2. I think that's probably the order. That's of the real trilogy anyway. Here we go. Here's another name. Okay, so Walter. Now, if I'm correct, I'm sure Walter was a character in one of the Die Hard movies. Walter Twedson. Yeah, that's definitely Walter Twedson. Under Pumpkins, hi, thanks for tuning in. Again, we've got a picture. Is that the Nakatomi? No, it's not Nakatomi Plaza. No, it looks like a generic building unless somebody tells me otherwise. Of course, with there being a bookcase, let's try and see if there's any hidden switches. I assume there probably would have been in the game. So, very interesting. But I do believe that's probably going to be the last piece of action for this particular dump. I think we've seen everything in this particular level, assuming that there is going to be nothing else really that is going to be of any interest. So this looks like it's just another, yeah, so this is just taking me back inside where I previously was. So it looked like a pretty cool building. You know, some cool stuff to see there. It would have been interesting to have seen some enemies in there. Clipping issues were not too bad. Okay, security override. Okay, actually now we're maybe getting somewhere. So we just had a switch for the security override, so maybe now some of these areas are going to open up more. See, again, look, some pretty nice lighting effects. You know, yeah, you can see it looks, you know, blocky as hell, but even for an early build of the game, there's some pretty cool visuals there. Let's have a look at any other cool artwork knocking around. No, it just looks like standard pictures, maps. I'd be more interested in some other weapons, if there are any. So yeah, we're just back to the original corridor where we just were. So all in all, this was the first dump of Diehard 64. Pretty interesting in terms of thoughts on level design. Obviously on action, this one's been a little bit barren because there are no enemies to have to sort of take down or sort of attacking options, but you get a good feel for how the game would have played out. It definitely seems interesting, but I think for this one, that was all that there was to see on this one. The Great British Gamer says, what are the dates between the dumps? I do not believe that's being disclosed. I don't think that's actually been confirmed, which is a bit of a shame. But we're now going to switch over to Diehard 64 Dump 2. Okay, so this time we've got prison, sewer, observatory, and Nakatomi Tower. Okay, this one's going to be more interesting, I feel. I think there's going to be a little bit more action here. So we'll start off again in order. We'll go to the lower prison. Okay, so this would have had a prison intro cutscene, and already it looks like we're now going to see some action because it looks like we've got somebody right in front of us. I actually saw a character there. Punch him in the balls. So importantly, can you maim bodies? No, they disappear. But at least now we're going to see some action. So this level, I'm not actually having to press to go through doors. It's just letting me go straight back and through. So hopefully this build is a little bit easier to play. Whoa. So he's shooting at me, but it doesn't appear that there's any way that I can sort of... So you can actually jump over that, which is pretty cool. Let's have a look. So Joseph says, how was Vendetta anyway? I actually was probably in the minority. I actually quite enjoyed Die Hard Vendetta. It didn't live up to the expectations by any means. There you go. So you heard some Bruce Willis there. And now we get to dual wield. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the options because the aiming was really strange just then. So let me just turn auto aim on, which I think is going to help. I'm also going to turn AI on. So let's see what that does. Okay, so now we're now dual wielding. So from what I can tell, looking at this level so far, it looks like the prison is being overrun. And it looks like an escape type mission. Again, some not bad fire effects right there. I've seen worse on the N64, and especially for an early build. But I just need to figure out how I can get or if there's any way. So it's getting a little bit buggy. Let me try and go back and see if there's any other ways. If there's any other routes that I can find. So let me open up the cell doors, which is pretty cool. It'd be nice if there were some inmates in there for me to take down. If they had like some crazy prisoners or something, that would have been pretty cool. So yeah, some of these doors are strange. Some of them they're letting me just go straight through. Others are really not liking it. But it does seem very, very... Super Speed says, Glenn, how old are you and what year did you get an N64? I'm 31 and got one in 1997. I got one the Christmas it came out. I'm 32 years old at the moment, so yeah, going back a long time ago now. Okay, so that again is just letting me go through. Let me try one more time just to see if there's any way I can potentially get through before we go on to the next prison one. Because I have seen a video, one of the prison levels had a huge amount of enemies. But if there's any way. Okay, so just one final thing to try just to see if I can get through those doors. Yeah, so I think this is the end of the road for this particular level. Let's turn the windows back on. And we'll go to the next part. So we're prison roof now we're going to have a look at. Undead Pumpkin said, would I ever be interested in doing Nintendo 64 disk drive reviews? I would love to, but unless somebody's going to super chat me $500 to buy an N64 DD, I can't see it happening anytime soon. I've always wanted an N64 DD, but I've never been in a position where I've been able to buy one. They're really expensive. They're going up a lot in price. As more and more collectors want to get hold of them. So yeah, I'd love to, but at this stage can't afford them. Okay, this looks pretty cool. So this would be like what, the prison chapel? Kind of looks that way to me. You know, you've got some pews right there. Or the prison, some sort of satanic cult, one or the other. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying some of the lighting effects. You know, you look at that with the flames, particle effects, light dispersion. Super speed, I don't use emulators, so it's not something I would be interested. I mean, I'm not sure if there's an N64 disk drive emulator. Somebody will probably be able to comment and let you know, but yeah, it just doesn't have the same feel. And that's why this is actually pretty cool. That's why I like doing episodes of the N64 beta project, even though I haven't done one in quite some time, because essentially I just like trying to play stuff on the original hardware. That's just how I am. I know a lot of people really enjoy emulation, but for me personally, it's not something that I really enjoy. So that's why every video, all of the footage on this channel, it's always been solely on original hardware. Plus as well, you know, in this era with things like flash carts and stuff, I don't see any reason to, you know, really spend much time in emulation when you can get a much better experience, even just using flash carts like the EverDrive. Okay, so that's another door that's just letting me walk straight through it. Okay, so these levels were linked together, so even though they had separate screens, they were actually linked. So we've already experienced this one, so I'm now going to need to go to the prison exterior. Mr. D Money 156 says Diehard 64 was dumped. When did this happen? Pretty cool. It was about 2 days ago. So what I was going to do is I was going to do basically some videos for it, but I thought, what the heck, you know, whilst I'm playing it for the first time, why not just do a live stream so everybody's experiencing it at the same time as I am. So I've not played these before. So that's why, you know, we're finding the bugs, the glitches, clipping, all of this together at the same time. Okay, so it looks like we've got a watchtower there. So I'm guessing, maybe I'm kind of getting the feeling that all of the levels would have sections which were really heavily action based, but there would also be some stealth elements as well, because as we saw in the hospital and the police department, and in this right now as well, where we saw the security lights, it kind of looks like there's going to be some stealth elements to the game, which is kind of strange for a Die Hard film where, you know, you sort of assume like an all-out action game. Okay, here we go. Pump shotgun. Now all I need is some enemies to be able to use it on. So that door is locked. So I assume if I go back down here, this door's now going to be open, and it looks like it is. But I would love some enemies to use this on. Joseph G says it would be cool if some fans tried to finish it. It's the same with a lot of the beta and unreleased games, even games like Glover 2. You know, naturally you love people to finish them, but with how difficult the N64 is to code for, that's why you don't really see many people making N64 games like you get with the NES and even the Super Nintendo. You just don't get that same community. Okay, so that switch just lifted that gate up, but let me just have a quick check here just to see if there's anything else I could get to. Doesn't look like it. You got a sort of roof area just here. This level looks like there's quite a lot of detail in it already. Of course, the enemies are missing, but it looks like there's still quite a lot to go through. There's, you know, lots of working switches, working doors. All we need is some more enemies. That's what we need though. So let's see what we can do. You see, I think this is already like the 5th switch in the game, or in this level even. But the environments are pretty cool. I'm interested in the level design. It looks like it's pretty good. Okay, so that one's a dead end door. Maybe that was going to be an exit area. Okay, here we go. This looks interesting. This looks like a little bit of a bunker. But unfortunately, it looks like that's all that there is. So maybe that would have led to like some sort of underground base. That would have been cool. Michael Rice, or Reese, says, how is this related to Diehard Trilogy on PlayStation? It's not related in any way whatsoever. Completely separate game from what I can see and what we've played already. A completely separate storyline as well. So, but yeah, we're just trying to piece out what the overall background to it would have been. See, this is showing some sort of door. So is there a rear... This is strange because you can see it sort of glitching. If you go further enough away, you can see there where it's sort of... If I crawl slowly, there you go. So you can see there's got to be some door. So let me try this. If I go to the options and turn the doors off again, let me just see if that's going to help anyway. No. Which is annoying, because this door doesn't appear to be working either. But that's the thing, this is why it's kind of frustrating, because you're not quite sure if it's just buggy or if there is actually, if it's glitching or what's going on. But definitely the engine's running a bit choppier on this level. I'm not sure if it's because of the size of the level compared to the first dump that we were looking at, but it does appear to be slightly, the frame rate seems to be slightly slower, or slightly lower even. But yeah, it's annoying because I really want to get through that gate, but I can't see any more switches. And unless there's a way to get up there on the roof, but it doesn't look like there would be. This gate's already been opened. There's no way to get in the sewer, I assume. You just see there's no way to punch through this. No. Strange, but yeah, that looked like an interesting level. Looks like we've reached a dead end in what we can actually get to. There's no way to sort of punch through the door. None of the action buttons are letting me go any further, and we've hit all of the possible switches. So maybe that's all that was finished, but definitely looked like a cool level. I would have liked to have seen what the actual context of it was in the game itself. So let's try for Sewer 1. See what we can do. Toss Llama says, I can't think of any first-person shooter games with left-handed characters. I wonder if Bruce is truly left-handed in real life. Who knows? Yeah, I can't think of any left-handed, any lefties in first-person shooters. Strange, really. Nikolas Cortez says, we need more N64 games like the ones on NES and Dreamcast get. Yeah, it would be cool to see a more active homebrew scene. So this is the first part of the sewer level. So it says sewer chase cutscene. So I assume how you escape from the prison is through a sewer. So this looks like it's going to be... Oh, okay, we're getting some major glitching. To Boyle Heights, let's try this. Okay, so it's not letting me climb the ladder. It looks like a dead end anyway. This is having some serious glitches, so let me just try in the options turn the windows back on. There we go. Okay, we're in business. Here we go. So again, those vents don't appear like that you can destroy them, but we're looking pretty cool. I mean, again, the graphics here look pretty good to me. So let's see where we go in the sewers. So we're in the water. So we can actually crouch, which is pretty interesting, because going into those small areas, I would assume with how rough around the edges the game is, it would have been an impossible. But this is what I mean. If you look at this, the actual graphics are pretty good. You know, if you look at those screws, you can get quite a lot of detail from those valves. Maybe it's because you have to action them. I don't know. But they look pretty good to me. So it really would have been interesting to have seen. Okay, this door says danger, but it's not letting me anywhere near it. And it's going buggy as hell whenever I go near it. So let me just see if I can find a way to get through it, because it's really, really clipping like crazy. Just wanted to see where the hit zone is for this door, because yeah, this is really not letting me go anywhere near it. So I'm not sure if I can actually get there, but it would appear not. So let's go up this ladder and see what we've got at the top, or if it's even going to let me. See, this is strange. It's not actually letting me go up the ladder either, but it does appear that there are doors there, so there's got to be some way. Very, very strange. So if I go back to the options and turn off the doors again, maybe. Yeah. See, I assume I need to get down there to do something, but there's really no way. It's not letting me jump up or climb the ladder. So this could be all for this particular part. Let me go back to the area where I was a moment ago. But what it now looks like is I need to go across this. Okay, so maybe we'll have some other luck. Maybe we need to do something in a different part of the level first. So just to go back, if we go to the options and turn doors back on, just to save any potential issues. Let's try going up here, see where this takes us. Nowhere by the looks of it. Typical. So you've got a sort of fan at the top. Is this going to let me break through? Is it a hatch? See, this is why it's frustrating, because that looks like there's going to be some sort of hatch there that I'd be able to action, but there's really no way to sort of get through there. But it does look built, which is frustrating, because who knows what's down there. Yeah, Twisted Mannix brings up a good point. Obviously, maybe it's supposed to load cutscenes in sections, so that could be. Maybe this was going to be a link, to a cutscene, because I'd assume if there's some sort of fan at the top, that's going to be there for a reason. So maybe that crashes down and sort of makes this available to go down, which then loads the next part of the level. So yeah, I can get that. That would make sense. Let's try Sewer 2 actually, because maybe that is the section where you actually see what happened next. Because you remember back in the hospital, we kind of got the idea for how they'd link together. So we got some sort of barrels here. And some crude looking pipe work. So not too sure what's going on here or how this is just linked to where we've been, but it looks, again, we're getting some serious clipping. So health pack we didn't need, Echo Park, there's a ladder there. So do I have any guns? No, because you can see there's a lock on there, or what appears to be some type of lock. So maybe that needs to be shot down. Yeah, as he says, graphically it looks okay for an unreleased game. The lighting is nice. I think so too. As you'll know from my reviews, I really get a kick out of games with nice lighting. So again, we're getting some clipping when we're trying to go around and move around this level. This looks pretty, if you look at the size of this though, if you look at the size of the room and everything, it looks like it's probably pushing the console quite a bit. Again, we've got another sort of lock there. So I assume I'd need some type of key. But as well, this could potentially be like a good deathmatch type level. You know, if you're looking at this one. It'd be quite cool multiplayer. Toss Llama says, which Diehard movie is this trying to emulate? I'm assuming the first one. It's not really clear. It's definitely not linked to any of the first 3 Diehard films. Of course, the later ones were not even in production, if I remember correctly. Apart from Die Hard 4, was that about the time of Vendetta? I don't know, strange. Really strange. But that looks like a dead end because it's not letting me go anywhere. So let me see what else is around here. Is that just where I came from? See, this looks like it's quite a maze type, yeah. So a lot of these rooms coming off this central vault. It appears they're just sort of placeholder ends. So I came through there. Let me try some of these other ones. But it looks like these are just sort of placeholder graphics because, okay, this is now letting me go through here. So hopefully we don't run into another dead end. Undead Pumpkin says, I wonder how smoothly it would run if it had enemies implemented. Well, we'll see it on some of the later levels. I think it's the dump 3 when we start looking at that. I think that one actually has got some more enemies in there. On the prison level a short while ago, it seemed to be okay. But then again, there was only sort of 1 or 2 enemies there, so can be a little bit difficult to tell. But again, we're sort of running in serious clipping now. But I'm doing everything I can. Michael Rice says, is there a Noclip mode? I've not seen one in the options menu. Let's have a quick try because this level's really bad for it. See, dynamic lighting, dynamic texture, sky conveyor belts, movable objects, auto targeting. No, maybe God mode, if I turn that off. So let's try that. No, this is just really clipping like every few steps. I'm trying though. I'm trying. Let's keep God mode on and see what we can do. Yeah, you can really see this bugging out now. And it looks like we've got a crash. So not too bad if we're, an hour or so into the stream and we've only had our first crash, an hour and 20 minutes. So let's get this loaded back up. So we'll move on to the next level because that one was really, really buggy. So we'll go to the observatory. Let's go outside and see what we can find in this one. Okay, so we've got a HK weapon. So let me just have a quick go to the options, check everything's on. Auto targeting I'll turn back on just because the aiming is horrible. Now the frame rate is really, really slow here. you can probably see on your screen. So we've got 2 smoke effects. We've actually got enemies. There's a nice amount of blood actually. You can see blood spraying all over. Some nice AI there. You can see him rolling around. So we're getting some nice enemy action now, which is really causing the engine to struggle. I've seen worse from games that were actually released, but this is not... Okay, so I've got some armor. So... that is really tearing me up. So I assume... So what I'm going to do quickly is just flick on to God mode, just because otherwise I think that is going to cause me some problems. Hopefully that's just going to give me... Yeah. There we go. Some pretty cool animations. It's nice to see some actual enemies. But yeah, you can see the engine now is really struggling. Pretty cool though, you can shoot through the glass. So that was pretty cool. The hell just happened there? Yeah, some destructible objects. Looks like, there he is. Okay, let's have a look at some names. We've got Professor Rogers, Dr. Robinson, Dr. Germain, Professor McGuire. So it's nice to actually see how the combat would have worked. It's quite nice. I'm not entirely sure what else to say about it really. It seems quite fun. I think, oh no, it's letting me through. So again, we're having the same issue with clipping, which is really not helping progress through, but this level seems really playable. So I'm not sure if this is just loading. Okay, so this was the bullet time feature that we were just talking about. And I'm not sure how you action or trigger it. However, should we just blow up the C4? Should we see if that was pretty cool. So yeah, you blow up the C4, which blows up the roof, which then gets you out of here. But what the hell is just going on? So yeah, I want to try and show you that bullet time effect again. I think you might get it through headshots. So let's see what we can do. But this is, the engine is really struggling now by the looks of it. Okay, that looks like it was a type of mine. But these levels are really big for the N64 to be trying to build these environments. Oh hey, a real big thank you to Anne-Marie Rose for the super chat donation. I really appreciate it. You said, keep making these N64 reviews, kid. There's something special on this channel. Well, again, really appreciate obviously everyone taking time off on their Saturday to tune in and watch. Hopefully this one's a little bit different than normal because it's, for a lot of people watching, it's something new like it is for myself. So this is a pretty interesting little file actually. Definitely what I imagine is the ROMs will be sort of progressed with. Oh, hang on. Now, what have we got here? Oh, crazy. Toss Llama says it looks so GoldenEye. You know what, it kind of does. Let's see if the C4, let's have another explosion. See those explosions on, you know, they look okay. Now that's some sort of gate. It's getting a little bit glitchy again. Let's see where else we can get to. Let's just jump over this wall. So let's try and trigger off as many of these explosions as we can. See how far we can get the engine to crash again. Pretty cool. Anne-Marie Rose likes unreleased games and prototypes. Yeah, my personal favourite one on the N64. My favourite unreleased game which I've covered, there's quite, to be honest, quite a few. Most of the episodes of the N64 beta project I've really enjoyed. A lot of people really enjoyed Glover too, but for me personally, I was never a huge Glover fan, but I know so many people really, really enjoy it, which I always found a little crazy because it's a good game, but that was a good episode. A lot of people really enjoyed that one. I think Tamaya Racing, Mini Racers, the sort of RC remote controlled one. Okay, who's this? Methsonian. Well, at least we've not got another poster of Donald Trump in this game again. So let me just see if there's anywhere else I can kind of get to. Let me go to this side. So yeah, this one looks like we've probably seen all that there is. Just see if there's anything on this monument, any switches. No way to blow it up either. Okay, so nothing there. Let's try the next level. I think we've already moved to. Let me go to inside the observatory. Yeah, so I think where we had the transition before. Yeah, so this is basically where we were before. I think it's just taken the different approach. Yeah, so because we've already seen this, let's go to the Nakatomi Tower, which is what probably most people wanted to see. Twisted Manix 87 says the rocket launcher is probably missing the last animation position. I would assume so, yeah. It looks really rough around the edges. Yeah, with more explosions, tilting animations. Yeah, I think that would have been the case. So just a random weapon floating in midair. Okay, let's see what we got. So this is the Nakatomi Tower. So maybe this was going to be linked to the... I would assume as well, thinking about it, I was going to say, I would assume of all of the levels, this one, the developers probably fleshed out more than the others. Because obviously a lot of people, if they were going to be showing off this game, that's probably what most people wanted to see, some sort of Nakatomi Tower action. This looks very, very unfinished though, and very, very buggy, no doubt. So let's see. Yeah, this looks terrible. Okay, so we're way outside the building. Let's try and get a view of the overall scope and size of it. So you can see it's well, apart from the glitching there, but you can see there's quite a big amount of scale to this. Toss Llama says, do we know what year this was in development? I think it was about 2000. The reason for the sort of switch to the GameCube, so it would be very late in the N64's lifespan, potentially maybe started development in the last 18 months. This looks like it would have been quite an ambitious game, so I think there would have been a lot of skepticism about them actually being able to get it finished in time for you know, to really have any chance of making any money, because when you get that late in the N64's lifespan, there's very few titles which are sort of coming out or being released that could potentially, you know, sort of make any money. And if this game was going to be ambitious, they obviously had the license. I just think they couldn't have made any money, so I think they probably made the right decision. Obviously, it's a shame we didn't actually get this title, but it's, yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a piece of history. Let's go to the penthouse. There's got to be some action here. Or I hope there's some action. Okay, so we're getting some big glitches. Okay, so let me try this. Now I've got God mode on, if I can get a headshot, I want to try and get the animation, the bullet time. If this guy will just stop rolling. So yeah, so as soon as enemies start getting involved, it really starts to slow down. A lot of these switches are not working. So again, haven't got the same animations like you had with GoldenEye, where if you shoot specific body parts, that would have been pretty interesting. So yeah, it doesn't look like the actual animations. Again, this is early stage, so obviously things could have changed, but maybe that's weren't maybe that wasn't something they were going for. Again, nothing down here of any use. So I'm not sure. Again, even the characters are getting stuck. Nice blood stain there. So there doesn't look like there's a whole lot actually left to see in this particular level. Very, very buggy, and getting buggier as it progresses. It's interesting how the character models disappear. All of the blood splats remain though, which is quite an oh, hang on, here we go. So we're getting some switches. So maybe these switches need to be flicked in order. So this looks like it's probably going to be one of those frustrating levels where you've got loads and loads of different switches to flick. And they're going to change walls and layouts, but okay, so it's not letting me jump up there, but I wonder if it's going to let me. Yes. Or is it? So it doesn't look like it's actually going to let me move anywhere else in this level. Kulak says, will I leak it? Will I put a link to the files? I don't need to. They've already been made available. They've already been dumped. So these are not my files. These are ones which I got emailed to me. So everyone else, if you're wanting to play this game, then you should be able to find it quite easily, or fairly easy. I've seen a few people on a couple of the N64 groups who have been sharing this. So that's all we're going to show off for the second dump. What we'll do now is we'll move on to the third and final build, the third dump of Diehard, which, all being well, I think is the most, I wouldn't say complete, but it's actually got the most sort of happening in it. So here we go. So we've got Downtown Final. So I'm just going to switch God mode back on because it just helps to make the game easy to play. So you can see here, you know, we were talking before about the size of the game and the different levels. This looks huge. It's a big street scene, but you can actually see, look at the, one thing to be noticing here is think how little fogging there is. You know, when you actually look at this, you can see how little there is in terms of actual fogging. Which is cool to see. So a question on the chat from Neighborhood Opa. Was it supposed to be 3 games in one, or they planned on releasing 3 games? No, this is just basically 3 different builds of the same game. So basically it's just different stages in development. Interestingly though, these have all got different areas in them, which is pretty cool. So Vote Montana, Methsonium. So this looks like a pretty interesting level. Let's have a look at some of the artwork. We've got a gas station, Ultra, petrol. Not sure why the light just went out there, but See, to me, that looks like it's going to be something explodable or some type of explosion. You can kind of see an outline for where that would maybe break away. If I just shuffle this to the side a bit. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's impressed with just the fact there's no fog in this at all. And this is a really wide open, I mean, look at this. Huge level. I'm not sure what there is actually to see in this level. I don't actually think I've seen any footage of this, so we're just going to have to take a hope and guess, just do a little bit of exploring just to see if there is actually anything, or if it is maybe like a test environment. You know, that's not out of the question. It'd be nice if there was a ladder, just so we could get up to the higher levels. Okay, now I'm not sure what this is. Perhaps maybe like one other point that we've not really discussed yet is maybe the entire game wasn't just going to be a first-person shooter. Maybe there were going to be some third-person levels, or maybe there were going to be some car-based levels. Okay, hang on. So a little bit of platforming there, but let's see what this will let us get to. Okay, so we've now managed to break into something. So there's not really much around. Let me see if I can break these crates. No. Okay. So this is just going to be a grocery or news type store. Cash register. Yeah, nothing at all that exciting. I mean, the most impressive thing by looks of it for this level is really just down to the size. So it's, I think this is more like a sort of tech demo type level. You know, look at that. I mean, come on. You know, you look at that distance. You've got some nice lighting effects. You've got some really nice looking textures. Can't really go wrong. You know, this looks like it would have been potentially something really, really cool. Again, super chats just come in, so thank you to Lyra Oak or Lyrico Lache or Lyrico Lange. Again, I always butcher everybody's names, but either way, thank you for the $5 donation. Really appreciated. Glad you're enjoying the show. Keep up the amazing work, Glenn. Your retro reviews and analysis are top quality. Others may disagree, but heck, I enjoy what I do. I'm just glad that people do like basically watching what I do, and sometimes hanging out and watching me play beta type video games. So let's try another level. So we got Downtown Res. So is this a restaurant, perhaps? You know, Res. Okay, so maybe this is downtown residential. Okay, that would maybe make sense. So we've got a liquor store here. Let's see if there's anything that we can get in here. So again, this is, by the looks of it, just another wide open area. Let's see if there's anything interesting we can find. Got some cars. But what's really sort of piquing my interest is I'd like to know what context these big wide open areas like the one that we were just in, what context they have in the overall game. Because it seems, I mean, you never know, maybe there was some sort of like RPG element where, you know, you could sort of upgrade, or, you know, was this going to be used for, you know, chasing scenes, or, you know, was this going to be a big battlefield, you know, with lots of you know, terrorists taking over a town. And it's really, or it could just literally be a case of just having it could just be a case of having textures and just showing off different environments to show off the game engine. So See, some of these are pretty cool looking. You know, some of the glass effects are not too bad. Yeah, Toss Llama says maybe if this was in context like Die Hard 3, where bombs are being defused. That's kind of how I was thinking. I was thinking, you know... Okay, so we've got a level loading. Yeah, I was kind of thinking if this was going to be a little bit like... maybe like Die Hard 3 on the PlayStation 1, where you've got the sort of car and you're having different, you know, sort of driving sections. Maybe they were going to mix up the gameplay. You know, a lot of... if you think about it, in fact, it's just come to mind. Why don't I think of it? How about this was maybe going to be used, say in GoldenEye, where you had the tank level, where you'd sort of go around the level in a tank and things. Maybe this was going to have a kind of similar sort of element to it. However, though, this is, I wouldn't say it's struggling with it, but it's definitely not liking it all that much in terms of being able to keep processing it. I can imagine if there was pedestrians, other cars, I think it would be really difficult to keep this frame rate. So we've got like a little underground bar here. The environments are quite barren, there's not really much here. Yeah, I was never a huge fan of streets in GoldenEye either. It just seemed a little bit out of place in the rest of the game, but at least it is a level you can do quite quickly. Okay, I think that's maybe it for this level. Let's try another one. Let's go to Downtown Apartment. So this one, I imagine, is going to be some apartment complexes. No. So this one's going to be inside an apartment. So, okay, we've got a weapon as well. So fingers crossed, some interesting choice of artwork there. Not too sure what's going on. And same here as well. A little bit blurry to tell exactly what's going on, but let's get out of the apartment and see what we can do. So I can't actually get into any of these other apartments, but I'm sure if I jump down, I'll be able to get out of this place. Yeah, here we go. But again, you know, you're looking at this, there's, you know, no fog. It's definitely impressive. So I'm assuming this is going to lead out back to where we were just a moment ago. Yeah. So that just led out to the residential streets where we were just a moment ago. So it looks like, trying to sort of put pieces together, it looks like these levels wouldn't have been used. Well, maybe not necessarily. It's tricky to tell, actually. I was going to say it doesn't look like they were going to be used for vehicle sections, but you can't actually tell because, you know, this section linked through straight into the outside area where we were before, but there's nothing really in there that's showing otherwise. So it's a tricky one. Let's try it. Let's go to a tuna factory, which sounds quite interesting. So tuna factory cutscene. So again, look, this is pretty nice graphics. You know, you look for the era. Some pretty nice visuals, and this is actually a little bit shaky, but it is definitely cool. Go away, Mika. That's just my dog barking. So this looks like the tuner factory is just locked up. So we're just going to need to do a restart on this one. $100 points for killing the dog. Okay, so let's try a different route, because it looked like that one was causing some difficulties. Okay. Well, you see, now this time there were enemies that were not there before, so a little bit strange. So we just got a yippee-ki-yay when he got a headshot. So okay, so you can actually action the CCTV as well, which is pretty cool. Okay, I just turn up the game volume a little bit. It's very, very quiet, so let me know if that's any better. Yeah, the music in the game is very repetitive, it's very generic, it's definitely nowhere near sort of finished. So just bear that in mind, it's going to get old really quickly. But at least we got a new weapon now. So this one's a striker. But the engine is really struggling now. So this is about where the game froze before. Okay, so very similar to GoldenEye, there's locks that you'd have to shoot off. But it also appears now that the enemies are just staying stuck in place. So the enemies you can see there, so I just stand by this guy, they look pretty nice. You know, they're not bad character models at all. You know, they've got some definition. Or let me just turn God mode on quick. There we go. So we're actually getting a lot of enemies on screen now, which is pretty cool. But you can see that yes, you can kind of see it's sort of causing some issues with some of the character models. Some of them are sort of either getting stuck or they're not properly disappearing. Like this guy, I'm not sure what he's doing. And a lot of the switches are no longer working, but still quite cool. I just can't see anywhere else where you can sort of get to in this particular level. So it looks like we're kind of at a dead end without any of those switches that are working. Unless you can blow up the panels. Oh, okay, here we go. There's actually no way to hit. Oh, hang on. Are they really going to have this? So let me try this. Wow, I'm really surprised. So that they've even got puzzles built into this at this stage. So is there going to be another one at the other end or what? Yeah. So it's pretty surprising to see that as well. I mean, are they hostages or are they already dead or what? It looks like they've been hung. Okay, and you can even shoot the... Let's try this. So what are they? Are they like hostages or... Okay, this is a character. But it doesn't look like I can interact, so... There's only one thing to do.
That's gotta hurt.
So yeah, what you can see straight away now when we're starting to get stages where there's multiple enemies on the screen, the engine's really sort of struggling a bit.
That's gotta hurt.
Super Speed says the door sound was straight out of GoldenEye. Yeah, I think it was actually. Again, a lot of these will have just been placeholders. So obviously I assume they probably would have changed it by the time the final game came out. It says loading, but I think it's actually crashed again. So let me just do a reset. So, Tuna Factory 2, I think was where we were at. Yeah, the game locked up massively. Okay, so I've now got the taser.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Let me just turn God mode back on, it's going to make things a lot easier. There we go. This taser's like a one-hit kill. You know, you can blast them with the shotguns and it does nothing, but you get this taser and it's like a one-hit kill. So I think that's where I was before. So let me try and see, because I saw a conveyor belt before, and I know that there was an option in the options menu that said conveyor belt. So let me see. No, it doesn't look like there's any way to. I mean, the animation's not too bad, you know, for a conveyor belt. But Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any reason that I can see for that to be there. So it looks like I need to try and somehow get over there, which the ladder will help me do. And was I crazy? I could have sworn I saw a door. Or maybe I didn't. Very strange. Oh no, it was a box. So a little bit of a tricky level. I can't actually seem to figure out where I need to go. Unless there's any destructible objects. Or something in here that... No. Really strange. Kulax says, I got it working on my Android phone via an emulator. I assume you're talking about this unless I've missed something in the chat. So yeah, most people are having no problems being able to find this ROM right now. So let's go on to the... Well, I've no idea what this level is, but this, yeah, looks like a test level. And it's locked up again. Great. Tossalama, you can't open the conveyor belt door from what I could just see. Okay, so this looks like it's... In fact, okay, so before we were talking about character models. And we were also talking about the bullet time effect. So what I think this level is I think this one is just showing off some of the bullet time type effects that were in the game and some of the animations. So you can see here you've got different character models which have, you know, looks like they're being shot, and just showing how they fall over, the different scenery and how they sort of interact with the environments. You've got a room here, I think, just give an example of some of these sort of fire or smoke effects. You've got some of the weapons on display. Just showing how you can go sort of in and out of the environments. So I think this is maybe like a testing level, just to show how movement is on different surfaces. And probably just showing off some animations. So and also different weapons. So okay, let me just turn God mode on, because that's definitely turning my character a little bit low on health. Okay, so again you can see some of the character models. I think these are pretty good looking. I think some of these characters, that one's not so much looking well. That's a real mess. A real weird looking character. Look at that one. Look at this. Look at that detail.
Get the hell out of here! Get the hell out of here!
Then again. No idea what that is, but it's strange whatever it is. So strange. Yeah, nightmare material. This is just like a twisted, really strange. I've not seen a sort of test zone as big as this, really. They've got so many different elements to the game in. It's like everything that's in the tech demo, everything that's in this beta version is in there. So you've got like trip lasers, you've got destructible objects, like explodable mines, like everything. It's cool to see though. And that's just locked up the game as well. So it's an interesting one. This third build is the most complete, but it's also the most buggy as well. So it's crashing non-stop. I think this is like the third or fourth crash. Okay, so let me try turn AI on, because this said it was an AI test level. However, oh actually no, hang on, let's turn those guys off. So if I go to options, AI on, there we go. So I'm sure there's a way how you can actually take people hostage as well. I'm sure, like, I've seen a clip somehow. I'm not sure how you do it. Yes, you can see now real bad slowdown. Yeah, he's looking at his fists. Cody brings up a good question saying, so was it AI just turned off in those downtown levels? No, from what I know anyway, so it looks like we've seen everything that we can from this particular build. So this was the sort of third and final build. I think we've sort of seen everything it has to offer. What I'll do is I'll just go back to build 1 just for a second, just to check that point out. Yeah, so Cody, let's have a look. So if we go to, I think we're talking about the warehouse levels. Actually, I think it's Crate Assault 2 we needed to go to, warehouse photo shoot. So if we go to the options, no, so Cody, it looks like there is just no enemies in this one. Yeah, it looks like it was just the way. Again, this was the earliest build, but yeah, it was a good point. It was worth checking. But yeah, it looks like there's no enemies. These were just purely environmental areas at this stage. We have managed to get to the roof though, so let me see. If there's any sort of way. Yeah, so it looks like it was a good question, a really good question. But it looks like that was a no in terms of the answer. Yeah, so I've kind of seen this bit. It's really strange because there are certain points like just there where you'll see there is it's like a bit like an automatic jump. So even though you have a jump button, there's some parts where you kind of get it where it's like the characters are automatically just sort of taken over. So you can crouch left and right, you know, if you want to shoot around doors, all you need to do is crouch, and whilst you're holding crouch you press the left C and the right C, so you can actually sort of aim around doors, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all that there sort of is to see on this. So we've gone through all three builds of the game. It looks like it definitely would have been an interesting game to be released. It's a shame there's not a more complete build, but this is one thing that is always still really interesting, is when something that's not been released before, especially with prototypes, you know, just trying to see what there is to actually play. And I suppose one of the interesting things as well is the actual files, you know, were sort of made available for free, because normally with a lot of the prototypes, you know, people, I wouldn't say hold people to ransom, because at the end of the day, if somebody pays a lot of money for it, it's theirs to sort of do as they want with. But with a lot of the prototypes, they normally go for huge amounts of money. So the fact that this was released for free by somebody who worked on the game was pretty cool. So all that we're hoping for now is obviously more games. Hopefully we might get Rika. But again, thanks to everybody for tuning in today. Hope you've enjoyed the past 2 hours that we've been live streaming Diehard 64. Again, thank you to Anne-Marie Rose and Liraco Lanach for your super chat donations. Again, really appreciate those. And again, if people have any other requests, or if people come across any other newly dumped unreleased prototypes, like in this case, I wouldn't have known unless somebody had emailed me to let me know that it had been released. So if you hear any news, drop me a message on Facebook, leave a comment, or get in touch with me, direct message me on YouTube, and I'll always aim to answer everybody as soon as possible. But for everybody else, thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you soon. And if there's more live stream episodes that you'd like to see me do, again, just leave a comment on this video. And if you've not managed to catch the entire stream, I will be uploading a full version, unedited, for you to enjoy if you wanted to catch some of the earlier levels before we stopped. So enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for watching.